I did not get a job yesterday. As in, I've been looking for a job since September. I had a final interview for a job I really wanted last week, and yesterday I got a rejection letter. I'm not going to talk about the job hunt because I think most people know the deal. What I do want to talk about is that I have the privilege of having no trouble paying my bills, and despite that, unemployment feels terrible. I didn't realize how much I'd internalized this idea that personal growth and progress comes from my career. It sounds ludicrous to me to say out loud because when I think about all the ways I have grown in the last 10 years, all the things I've learned, all the great experiences I've had, all the ways in which my life has gotten richer and I have gotten wiser, very, very few of those things are tied to my career. And yet, not working makes me feel stagnant, like I'm wasting months of my life. So here's the deal. There is nothing more romantic and exciting and energizing to me than summer in New York City, and no amount of sweat and stickiness can take that away from me. And I'm in need of some romanticizing of my life, of proving to myself that I'm spending my unemployed time in delightful ways, because I really am. So I'm going to try vlogging some of it. Maybe. That sounds hard, but let's see if I can. Good morning. My partner and I are in our hometown for a week. He'll be working and I will be hanging out with my mom. My goals are to help her with whatever long to-do list she has for me, plan my summer, and play the violin a lot. From St. Louis yesterday, and now I'm in the process of transferring a bunch of things from suitcase to backpack because we are headed upstate to spend Memorial Day weekend with some friends. All right, now bag and backpack and I are headed to Costa Rica. For real this time, and I have a lot of post-travel cleaning and organizing and unpacking to do, but first things first, we gotta take our favorite small friend to the vet. Let's go. Come on. Just get in. Good boy. Yeah, you're so good. It does feel kind of silly to have started vlogging to share how I'm spending my unemployed time and then immediately spend 2 weeks just traveling, but I guess freedom to travel is one of the perks of having all this free time. And I'm quite grateful that I get to travel and see my family so often. Whatever else is going on, I honestly always feel so held with my family. Like my needs are almost preemptively met, either because everyone is so familiar with and tuned into each other, or because I just feel so comfortable to voice how I feel. I know that makes me really lucky, and it is hard to resist the chance to travel and be around that as often as I can. Anyway, we have a minute or two of this unpacking and planning montage left, so if you haven't had anything to eat or drink today, or there's a tiny task you've been putting off, I think now's your moment. Good morning, we're waiting for my tea to boil. It has not been a super productive week, mostly because I had big plans for Thursday, and then Wednesday night a friend of mine came over and stayed until 2 a.m., and I had exactly one bee's knees. And if you're thinking, Arthi, what kind of senior citizen are you? The answer is one that needs enough good quality sleep at the right hours. So obviously worth it, but here's what we're gonna do. I have made a list of all the things that I would like to get done this weekend. It's definitely longer than the usual weekend to-do list, so realistically, I will do about 70% of it. But if I get 80% of it done, I will be quite pleased with myself. Wish me luck. Guess who's going to Shakespeare in the Park tonight? The in-person lottery is a great way for an unemployed person to get Shakespeare in the Park tickets because most people can't take time off in the middle of the workday to go to a lottery in person. And on the night of a Knicks championship game, your odds are even higher. I also took myself on a field trip to the National Museum of the American Indian, and I forgot to get any footage there, but I highly recommend, especially the Native New York exhibit. Dog birthday party in Brooklyn today, but it got canceled, so this task list is actually going to be a piece of cake. But as I've been going through all the effort of showing you just how pleasingly productive my weekend is, I've also been thinking about why I find that important. Do I feel the need to justify these unemployed months of my life to myself or to you by proving that I'm still being productive? That question has several answers to it, some of which sound like a yes and some of which sound like a no. For starters, I have a level of financial and personal freedom right now that, while life is long and I can't predict the future, I do not expect to get again, at least for a very long time. And not using that freedom to find the job that I'm looking for in the field that I'm looking for is actually what will make this time feel like a waste to me. And as long as I anchor myself to that truth and keep working towards the job I am looking for, then I do not feel the need to justify my time in the meantime. Or at least, I don't want to feel the need to justify my time in the meantime. I'm trying to teach myself not to. Also, I was talking to my therapist a couple weeks ago about how we sometimes use our careers as a substitute for personal growth, because it's a metric pretty much everyone can understand and relate to. But personal growth actually happens mostly internally. I really believe that the primary reason I know I've grown in the last decade is because it feels so much better to be me now than it did 10 years ago. And there is no way to explain that. You just have to take my word for it. So maybe the real waste of time is trying to prove to myself or anyone else that I'm using this time wisely with an easily explainable metric instead of just growing. All that being said, this is a really special time in my life, like I said, and I want to use it well. And for me, that really does look like keeping busy with things that I find important. Playing violin, reading books, watching movies, volunteering, doing things in the city that I don't usually make the time for. And as a result of doing all those things, I am learning a lot and hopefully growing a lot. And while I would probably still keep improving as a person without doing all those things, I do think if I didn't do them, I would look back on this time and regret it. So that's why I'm trying to do so many things right now, because being busy makes me feel good and I'm lucky to have so much free time to do those things. And because I'm working on so many little things rather than one big thing, and because my schedule can change week to week, it can be hard to internalize how many lovely and fulfilling things I'm spending my time doing. So that's what the camera's about. I've been feeling kind of anxious for the last week or so. I can't really figure out why, so I'm trying to just sit in it. I've picked up meditating daily again, which isn't something I like to do all the time, but can be really helpful every now and then. And I've noticed that sitting through a 10-minute meditation is a lot easier than it used to be, which makes me think that whatever other mindfulness practice I'm doing has still been really helpful. Anyway, anxiety to me very often feels like a disconnect between my brain and reality. But one thought I had today while meditating was, the earth has got me. My body has got me. Even when I don't know it or feel it because my brain feels like it's somewhere else entirely, those things are always there. They're always mine. So a little bit in that spirit, but mostly just because I wanted to, I'm going to take myself to the MoMA today. It's a beautiful day, and maybe some art and beauty will bring my brain back to earth a little bit. And even if it doesn't, everything's still beautiful. Enjoyable ways I've been spending my time over the last 5 weeks is reading and watching a ton of books, movies, articles, YouTube videos, etc. So here are my favorite things I've generally consumed over the last 5 weeks. On the books front, first, Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I don't need to sell Austen to you, I hope, but I have so much affection for our clueless heroine, Catherine Morland. I wasn't as into the second half of the novel, which really leans into being a gothic novel parody, but by then I was locked in. Then there was Factfulness by Hans Rosling, Anna Rosling-Ronland, and Ola Rosling. This was a book about the misconceptions that people living in the Western world generally hold about the rest of the world, how they live, and and how fast things are improving for a lot of people. I'm not generally into books about how scientific and technological progress mean the world is getting better, because from my perspective, most of the biggest problems we face are due to injustice, not lack. But Factfulness actually felt pretty clear-eyed about the role injustice plays in our world. It just also suggests some ways we can incorporate big picture, long-term thinking into our worldviews. And then finally, Don't Burn Anyone at the Stake Today by Naomi Alderman. I just finished this one last week, and it was pretty short, but it had some amazing things to say, so I feel like I'm still absorbing it. But it's a book that compares the internet to past paradigm-shifting advances in communications technologies, like writing and the movable printing press. I actually feel like I have a pretty good relationship with my phone and social media, and even then I felt like this book had a lot of interesting things to say about how we relate to being able to hear so many people's voices all the time. I really appreciated Alderman's historically grounded approach. I've never heard anyone talk about the internet that way, and I wish the book was like 5 times longer. For movies, I have less to say because all my favorite movies of the last 5 weeks are movies that people already know and love. First, You've Got Mail, an outdated and problematic fave that only 2 people as charming as Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks could make work. Second, Joe versus the Volcano, an incredibly fun ride, also Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan in 3 different accents. And finally, Paris is Burning, iconic, bittersweet, required pride watching. There were 2 articles I really enjoyed. The first is called The Worst Case Scenario Was Cancelled by Anya Kamenetz. Sorry, I don't know how to say their name. But they talk about how the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's worst case scenario prediction from 2014 has now been declared no longer plausible. Which, given how things have gone since then, I find wild, and Kamenetz talks about what that development could mean to our relationship to optimism and pessimism for the future. And then second, Revenge of the Business Idiot by Ed Zitron, which talks about why the AI bubble is a bubble with actual facts and figures, which I found really helpful and clarifying. And then this isn't a specific article, but if you live in New York City or care about New York City politics, Michael Lange has an incredible newsletter called The Narrative Wars, which is great at giving a bird's eye view of what's going on during a really interesting time in New York City politics. On the music front, I have nothing groundbreaking to say. Olivia Rodrigo's new album, You Seem Really Sad for a Girl So in Love, is really good. I'm not usually a big pop music fan, but I think Olivia Rodrigo is incredibly talented. This new album is a huge step forward for her. It's very self-aware, and I thought it was fun, but I don't think everyone else is having that experience. Listen at your own risk. And then finally, one YouTube video, Lena Norms's Patagonia Has Scammed Us All. The video talks about why clothing brand Patagonia suing drag queen Patagonia is a terrible move. Lena's been receiving a lot of criticism for this video, and I'm not super well informed about what's going on, but from my perspective, the video does a really good job of cutting through a lot of the legal BS and just talking about the issue from a climate perspective. And regardless of whether you'll agree with her conclusions or not, I think the video is worth a watch. I wish I had a pithy way to sum up the last few weeks, but they're just life. 5 weeks ago, I was rejected from a job after making it to the 3rd round of interviews, and I felt like a toddler about to throw a tantrum. I am tired of making the best of a bad situation. Why can't I just get a job? But other times, I'm so grateful that I don't have one. Those feelings come and go, and I'm learning to ride the waves. I hope your summer, if that's what it is where you are, has started well. Mine has.